You want to be governed by someone who follows your faith, or by someone who can use faith against you? This is the question that no one wants to answer sincerely, because when religion enters politics, masks fall. The speech becomes salvation, and the vote becomes preaching. But after all, what is worse? A state without values, or a state that imposes religious values on all, even to those who do not believe? In recent years, this debate has exploded in different parts of the world. Religious groups gaining space in power, spiritual leaders influencing elections, politicians using verses such as arguments and pulpits as stands. A lot of people see this as a sign of hope. Finally, we will have rulers with principles, with faith, with morals. Others see a red alert. We are flirting with fundamentalism, with authoritarianism disguised as spirituality. But in the midst of this crossfire, almost no one asks the most important question. What happens when faith becomes politics, and politics becomes faith? In this video, we go straight to the point, without romanticizing any belief, without attacking any religion, but exposing what happens when the state is no longer secular and becomes devoted. Get ready, because perhaps the greatest threat to your freedom come precisely from those who say they are speaking in the name of God. Religion and politics have always walked side by side. Since the beginning of civilizations, kings ruled in the name of the gods, and priests influenced decisions of war, justice, and economy. In ancient Egypt, Pharaoh was considered a deity. In the European Middle Ages, the Pope had more power than many kings, and to this day, oaths in courts and public office are made before God in various countries. The idea of separating faith and government is relatively recent. It is born with the Enlightenment, consolidates with modern revolutions, and gains shape in the concept of secular state, a state that is not against religion, but does not submit to any specific religion. The logic behind this is simple and powerful. In a different society, the only way to guarantee religious freedom is to ensure that the state does not privilege any belief. Neither Christianity, nor Islam, nor Judaism, nor atheism, nor ancestral religion, no modern worship. But does this work in practice? In many countries, no. And even where it works, the tension between religion and politics has never disappeared. In the United States, for example, the state is officially secular. But politicians campaign based on faith, evangelical pastors influence votes, and phrases such as "one nation under God" are in cash, schools, and oaths. In Brazil, the article of the Constitution states that the state is secular, but religious leaders command countertops in Congress, influence public policies, and transform pulpits into electoral platforms. In India, the current government has a posture clearly linked to Hinduism, marginalizing religious minorities, especially Muslims. In Iran, religion not only influences the government, it is the government, a theocratic state where religious leaders have maximum authority and where politics and faith are completely merged. The result? Repression, intolerance, and persecution of those who think or believe different. In France, the secular state is taken to the extreme, to the point of prohibiting religious symbols in public schools. The justification? Keep the public space neutral. But for many, this has become institutionalized intolerance. That is, the problem is not only if the state is secular, but as he deals with the different manifestations of faith within politics. And here comes the central tension. When most of one people are religious, does it have the right to shape politics based on their faith? Or does that threaten the freedom of those who believe different? We are talking about much more than religion. We are talking about power. From those who decide what is right, what is sin, what is allowed, and what will be forbidden. This mixture between faith and state may seem natural to many, but when it consolidates itself without limits, the space for the different begins to disappear. And when the different disappears, what comes later is not salvation, it is imposition. For those who defend the presence of religion in politics, the argument is direct. Every society needs values. And for millions of people, these values come from faith. It is religion that teaches what is right and wrong. It is it that forms character, morals, the ethical principles of many citizens. In this reasoning, separating completely religion and politics would be to deny the cultural and spiritual reality of the majority of the population. It would be to prevent people of faith from participating in the construction of laws and public decisions based on what they believe. Moreover, many claim that it is precisely the absence of faith in power that allows corruption, moral decay, and degradation of society. Religious leaders, according to this view, would be more ethical, more human, and more concerned with the common good. Another point raised is that of representativeness. If the people are mostly religious, why can't they elect people who think like him? Why would these leaders be delegitimized for bringing their faith to public debate? These advocates claim that religion can serve as a brake on state abuse, that it protects universal values such as life, family, justice, solidarity. But on the other side of the debate, the warning, of course, religion in politics can quickly become institutional persecution. Critics claim that using faith as a basis for public policies is dangerous because there is no single religious interpretation. And when the state approaches the dominant religion, it begins to exclude all the others. Examples of this abound. When a religion influences laws, this can result in prohibition of contraceptive methods in the name of religious doctrines, impediment of civil marriages between same-sex people, censorship of artistic works considered offensive to faith, criminalization of behaviors that, outside the religion, would only be personal choices. What's more, when politicians use religion as a shield, often what one sees is not authentic faith, but manipulation. Faith becomes marketing, God becomes slogan, and religious leaders become electoral cables. The problem is not having faith. The problem is using faith to get power, and use power to impose faith. In real democracies, the challenge is enormous, to ensure that religious people can participate in politics without transforming the state into extension of a temple. Because the state cannot decide which God is right, much less who is the most morally pure citizen. Critics also remember that state secularism protects religion as much as protects atheists. Without this separation, even minority religions are at risk because only one will send. What's more, mixing faith and power tends to shield authorities. If a politician says he acts in the name of God, how to criticize him without being accused of blasphemy? This mixture creates a dangerous shield, where questioning a political decision is seen as attacking an entire religion. In the end, the state is no longer neutral and becomes an instrument of a group. And the question that bothers is simple. If tomorrow the government is commanded by a religion that is not yours, will you feel protected or persecuted? This is where the debate changes figure, because defending the mixture between faith and politics only seems good, even the day when the other's faith comes to power. Religion and politics have something in common. Both deal with power. One with the power to guide souls, the other with the power to control bodies, laws, lives. To separate these two forces is not to despise faith. It is to protect freedom. The freedom to believe, not to believe, to change belief, to live without fear of being tried by the state based on dogmas that does not share. When religion enters politics, what is at stake is not just the boss, is the one who can exist. The mixture between faith and government has already justified wars, persecution, censorship, and deaths. And it continues to be used today to block rights, silence voices, and mask power interests with moral purity discourses. But the problem is not faith. Faith is personal. It's intimate. It is sacred. The problem is to use faith as a state policy, and politics as a tool of faith imposed. In a really free state, religion may exist, but it cannot rule, and the state can protect freedom, but cannot choose who deserves this protection based on religious doctrine. The final question is simple but urgent. Would you be comfortable living in a country where your faith is not the dominant, and yet the government is based on religion? If the answer is no, then you already understood why the state needs to be secular. Now we want to hear you. Do you believe that religion and politics can walk together without corrupting yourself? Or do you think mixing faith with power is the first step to lose everyone's freedom? Comment down here, the debate continues with you. If this video made you think, like, share, and subscribe. Here, we don't choose easy sides, we poke where no one else wants to move.